Straight Talk 1400, 732 it is, 31 degrees here at KJFF. I'm Matt West. Craig Andrews is here as well.
I'm not important, though.
Sure you are, Craig.
Nope.
Still looking for that 2 inches of snow we were supposed to get, but it turned out we just have some wet streets this morning, so hopefully your commute won't be too bad. I'd like to welcome to the studio a gentleman from Jefferson County now, I guess we could say. His name is Tom Kerr. How are you, sir?
I'm fine.
And you actually did buy a home in Crystal City, or is it in?
It's in River Hills, which
Hills.
is technically Festus Unincorporated.
Unincorporated Festus. And anytime we talk to callers, they usually say south of Festus. They'll say R7 area. They have a variety of ways of describing unincorporated areas as well. Some time ago, you bought a sand mine that was at one time mined for PPG. In hopes of building some type of sports complex. Right now, I guess that's kind of been a holding pattern, right?
Well, it's not on hold, but there's a lot of things we can't do until we know what we're doing. So there are things we are doing.
And what you mean by that is you don't know if in the future additional land will be available, which would obviously enhance the plans for what you've envisioned.
In essence, yes. More so, I just don't know what is going to be my next door neighbor, and a lot of that predicates on what I do at the mines.
And as everybody knows, there is a proposal for an iron ore smelter on property that would border the mine. And do you still see that as incompatible with a sports complex?
Yeah, I do. The smelter, they're also talking about a port, which is, my understanding, takes up about 500 acres and would be very active, and that concerns me greatly because it would preclude us from doing anything on the river, which we had hoped to do some water sports and things like that on the river itself. So both of those things are incompatible. We would want to go forward with the project, but a lot of the things that we'd like to do, like outdoor music events, probably would not work.
The Crystal City Council, to this point, has been for this other project, and there is a group of individuals, concerned citizens for Crystal City, who have been fighting it. What is your relationship to that citizens group?
I'm a member. I have donated some money to it. I am not very active with it. I do go to all the meetings, but there's a core group of individuals, probably about 50 people that really have devoted a lot of time and energy to it. And my problem is I have to devote time to my business and my project. So I'm very interested in it and want to help any way I can, but not really integrally involved in it.
So no one's taking marching orders from Tom Kerr.
No, in fact, a lot of them are very suspicious of Tom Kerr. A lot of them are very suspicious that my goals are to figure out how to control Crystal City, which is not my goal.
And the passion there is to stop this industrial facility from going up, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are, promoting your project.
No, they really kind of shy away from my project. And my agenda today is to stop the smelter. If I can't do my project and there's not a smelter, in my opinion, it's better for the community. And I chose to buy here and retire here, and I do not cannot live next to what they're proposing.
So if this goes through, and of course, that's a long road. Even if the real estate deal goes through, still a big permitting process and everything else. What happens to the sand mine? Or have you thought about that?
Yeah. What we're working on, we're working on property in a different location for parking, and we're working on property in a different location for things like the equestrian, for maybe some of the ball fields. We're going to try to do a shuttle service to the facility instead of having parking next door to it. Kind of the assumption is we wouldn't go after events that would be tens of thousands of people, but maybe events that would be 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 people that would be a little more manageable. Probably do a much smaller convention type area. We had hoped to put in we figured out we could put up to 250,000 square feet of convention relatively inexpensively by using the natural walls. And so we'd build a lot smaller area for that. There'd be less things that we would do.
So it's not automatic that if this smelter comes into being, that the mine becomes a warehouse.
No, it's not automatic. I've actually had proposals from several people for those uses. At this time, I'm not going to do that.
Well, I mention that because that's part of your background.
Yes.
I mean, that's part of your business. You just didn't show up out of nowhere. You have some warehousing in St. Louis and things like that.
Right. And actually, believe it or not, I mean, one of the things I have to do is work through the zoning with the county. They have some issues with what I'm doing. And they want to make sure that I do everything legally and by the code, which I intend to do. I think it's kind of funny because a couple weeks ago we were actually approached by a buyer that would like to put a prison in the mine. And the zoning for a prison is actually there. So it's kind of interesting.
I had no idea. But now that you mention that, I have read stories where the state of Missouri will contract with facilities, and I don't know who approached you, if it was state or independent, but I know that there are independent prisons and things like that. Not a lot of places to run, I guess.
No.
You kind of be sheltered in. Again, the smelter is either going to be there or it's not going to be there. We talked about if it's going to be there, you would have to obviously dramatically downsize your project, but you're looking at alternatives for that right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If the smelter, if city council changes its mind, or the smelter, the land transaction takes place, but the permitting goes south, or something like that, then are you back to your original plans, or what happens at that point, or have you thought about it?
Well, it's really problematic. Number one, I assume that I haven't made a lot of friends in Crystal City. Number two, I assume I have not made a lot of friends at PPG. We are doing the city's due diligence right now. We are finding all of the flaws in the property. We've discovered, many easements and issues that are involved. We've discovered very many environmental issues that I don't think the city's aware of. Going to try to present them to the council on Monday night if they'll let us at the meeting. There's a lot of issues and a lot of concerns, but kind of my assumption is that Crystal City may not welcome me with open arms. So hopefully we can do parking and a shuttle service.
So so if for some reason, and let's just use that scenario, they don't get the permits, for example, that doesn't automatically mean that, hey, I'm here, I'm going to step in and purchase all this land and yada, yada, yada.
I think I've probably burnt that bridge. I don't think that's an option. I'd be surprised if it was.
So if this smelter does go south, that could be a difficult set of circumstances for the city council. Would you imagine?
I think the city council will be shocked. I think that there will probably be 20 proposals presented to the city council for different things. I think you'll see people come forward and propose things like office parks, light industrial parks. I think there's a lot of things that could be done with that property. The views that can be commanded from the river are phenomenal. The concept of a marina is a very good concept. It probably won't be Crystal City Underground doing it. It probably would be somebody else. But it's a marvelous piece of property, and there's just phenomenal opportunity there. Its worst use, in my opinion, would be heavy industry. There's so many things that are so much more viable.
Well, you said there were some problems with the land.
There are problems with the land.
It's a brownfield site.
It is a brownfield site, and there's a lot of issues, a lot of underground issues. There's things like arsenic and chromium and, bad stuff. But that can all be corrected.
Right. All right. Have you had any interaction or contact with anybody from Wings?
We contacted Wings before they had signed their lease agreement, actually proposed to them that they consider selling us the property. I mean, we just did not want that to happen. He laughed at me and said, "We'll get back to you." And we haven't heard back.
Yeah, that was basically it.